I have an agreement with a friend of mine that if we're both single by the time we turn 40, I'm gonna buy a duplex, and he's gonna live on one side of the duplex, and I'm gonna live on the other side. This agreement has nothing to do with camaraderie or friendship. It's simply because we both share our greatest fear in life, and that's to die alone, not being anyone there to find our bodies. Picture this, it's 100 degrees outside. My dead body lying on the ground. The utility company is going to turn off my AC long before the mortgage company comes looking for me. Things are going to get awfully smelly pretty fast. Now, my plan seemed perfect, and it's always given me a sense of comfort, kind of like a security blanket. That is until my friend came home for vacation, came back to Austin, and he came back with apparently a serious girlfriend. I should have been happy for him, but I'm not. What about me? Who's going to live in the other half of my duplex? Now I'm going to be stuck with the duplex, nobody living there. I've calculated that it's going to cost me about an extra $10,000 a year not to have anybody paying me rent. So whoop-de-doo, he's got a girlfriend, who cares? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'm here to make you an offer that hopefully you can't refuse. I figure if this is going to cost me $10,000, I might as well get something out of it. So here's my deal. I'm going to offer $10,000 to the person who introduces me to my future wife so I don't have to die alone. You now have 10,000 reasons to go out and find me the perfect woman. Now tonight I'm going to tell you a few of my attractive qualities. Some of the things that I've tried on my own, and then I'm going to describe the ideal woman so that you know how to go out and start narrowing down the field. I only have a short amount of time, so I'm only going to cover 2 of my better qualities, but trust me, there are a lot more. Number 1, I always put the toilet seat down. This sounds simple, but apparently it's a pretty big deal. If there's anything I've learned in the last 13 years is the one thing that's more disgusting than living with a cat who's obsessed with licking my head is living with a cat who's obsessed with licking my head after she's been drinking out of the toilet. Second, I'm a very sensitive man. I'm not afraid to share my thoughts and feelings with a woman. Let me tell you a story about at a Christmas party I was at earlier this year. There was a fire drill, fire alarm went off, and we all had to walk down the stairs to get down to the ground floor. And there was one industrious young woman who was standing next to me walking down the stairs, and she had the foresight to stop off at the dessert tray before she tried to save her life. This is a good quality that she had. She offered me a piece of pie, and I said to her with all seriousness, "I think I love you." At which point she said, "I have a boyfriend." Which I thought was strange since this was a singles party, but. I was at another party a couple years ago, and the wife of a friend of mine came up and grabbed me and said, "How are you ever going to get married if you're not dating anyone?" Which really is a valid question. I just wish she hadn't said it so loud so that all my friends heard, because for years I've had to listen to, "How are you ever going to get married if you don't eat that piece of cake? how are you going to drink that Coke if you're not dating anyone? Various forms of the question. And it's true. So I want to tell you some of the things that I've done so you don't think I'm just sitting around waiting for y'all to come and find me the perfect woman. I'm already out there. For starters, I've gotten a lot of help from my dad. Every time we go out to dinner, he asks out the waitress for me. I wouldn't really mind because he does have pretty good taste. But let's just say I'm not sure all the waitresses are exactly of age. Apparently when you get older, you can't judge that very well. And so now when we go out, my goal is just to keep us from getting arrested. Second thing, I tried to take salsa lessons at UT, which is kind of interesting. The ballroom is always really hot. So one day I was perspiring a little bit. And there was a young Japanese woman who I was supposed to dance with as we switched turns. And she looks up at me with her angelic face, and I'm thinking, she must love me. And instead, she looks at me and says, "Oh, you sweaty." Really wasn't what I was going for. Apparently, this isn't as bad as it got. One day I got invited out to go roller skating by a woman that I had a crush on to go out with a group of friends. And in case you hadn't figured this out by the time you're about 13, there's absolutely no way to look cool when you're going like this for an hour and a half. And then it got even worse as I heard her over in the background say, "Why is Eric sitting on the floor?" I'm not sitting on the floor. I fell down and I have a concussion. I figure $10,000 is a lot less painful than having to go to the emergency room with my head split open. Now, finally, let me describe for you my ideal woman. First, she has to be breathing. I just want to cover that. I'm not into any of this kinky stuff. So Second, she has to be willing to make me chocolate chip cookies with those little M&Ms in them. I love those. And you're thinking, don't be so picky. What if she's making oatmeal cookies with raisins? Well, that's a deal breaker for me. I was at church on Sunday and my pastor was explaining the whole thing about being unevenly yoked, and that would be a perfect description of that. Raisin cookies or chocolate chip cookies. And third, the woman has to be of some type of ethnic background other than white bread Scandinavian. So I want you to think more Telemundo weather girl and less Swedish bikini team. This isn't because I'm racist. This isn't because I'm racist. This is simply a Darwinian attempt at ensuring the survival of my gene pool. Take a look at me. You see how white that is? If I have children with a white woman, my kids are going to be invisible. It does me absolutely no good to have offspring if I'm constantly going to be running them over while I'm backing my truck out of the driveway. Finally, if you're not motivated by money somehow, let me appeal to your sense of guilt or boredom. If you don't help me, I'm going to give the same speech every month from now on. And if I do, for some reason, meet an untimely demise, I'm going to make sure that I leave a card in my wallet that says, "I asked the Austin Toastmasters for help, and they didn't care." Mr. Toastmaster.